Okay, let's unpack this.
Hmm.
Today, we are doing a really fascinating deep dive into Nina Laurin's psychological thriller, What My Sister Knew.
It's a great one. Really gets under your skin.
It really does. And this isn't just going to be a breakdown of a twisty plot. Our mission is to dissect how this story uses its narrative structure, and I think this is the crucial part, the deep scars of untreated trauma.
To manipulate you,
Yeah.
to manipulate the reader's empathy.
Exactly, and hide the truth right there in plain sight.
It's a masterclass in controlled misdirection. I mean, the core premise is so powerful. You've got these twin siblings, Andrea and Eli.
Right.
And Eli has just been released from prison. He was in it for 14 years.
14 years. For a fatal house fire that killed their mother and their stepfather when they were just kids.
And the moment he's back, Andrea knows. She just knows that this life she's built, this carefully constructed adult facade, it's all about to shatter.
Yeah, and the source material we looked at points out something I found really interesting. It says that even if you start to sense something is, fundamentally off early on,
You can kind of smell the foul.
you can smell it, yeah. But the actual reveal still manages to land with a punch. So today, we're going to trace the specific breadcrumbs the author uses to keep you distracted, even when you think you know where it's all headed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that distraction, it starts right away. The way the author presents Andrea's crisis, I mean, she is our entry point into this world.
She is.
And the author makes sure we empathize with her immediate struggle.
Okay, so let's start there then. The immediate fallout. The second Eli is back, Andrea's life just, it begins to unravel instantly.
There's no grace period, no time to adjust. Her adult responsibility, her sense of peace, it's just compromised from page one.
And it starts with money. She feels this compulsion, this obligation to give Eli money to get him started.
But she's financially stretched. She's panicking.
Yeah.
So what does she do? She starts stealing?
From her own stepmother and her fiancé. I mean, these are self-destructive actions that immediately put this immense strain on the only support structure she actually has.
The stability she fought for a decade and a half, it just cracks the moment he's back.
Yeah.
But if we dig into the psychology of it, the reader's sympathy isn't just because her situation is stressful.
Right, it's her emotional state.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Andrea is presented as angry, exhausted, and always proactively aggressive. The source describes her as someone on the front foot in hurting other people.
And it's so easy for us as the reader to see that aggression as just, a consequence of all this external pressure. We can relate to that feeling of being tired and stressed and victimized by circumstance.
We do. And she blames Eli for everything, even her own mistakes, right? The self-sabotage, the theft. It's all his fault in her mind.
And that's the hook. That's the initial manipulation.
It is. Because Eli is the one who served time, the narrative just positions us to accept her version of events immediately. There's this subtle framing early on. It describes certain behaviors as characteristic of a psychopath.
And directs it all at him.
It directs it all at him. We're given the label, and we accept it because his history seems to confirm it.
But I have to ask, if Andrea is so actively self-sabotaging, stealing, lying, pushing away her fiancé, doesn't that start to chip away at her reliability, even for a reader who wants to be on her side?
It absolutely does, but that chipping away is delayed. It's a slow burn because the author first gives us the context for her pain. It's the setup for the long con.
So the story isn't just about who committed the crime.
Not at all. This book is less a simple shell game about who lit the match and more a terrifying exploration of the deep systemic damage of trauma.
And connecting that back to the bigger picture, the fire was really deeper. It was the symptom, not the cause. Our deep dive suggests this novel is a comprehensive study of failure, both familial and societal.
Oh, completely. We're talking about alcoholism, bullying, mental abuse, this crushing jealousy, and fundamentally, just a complete and utter lack of attention and care for these kids.
To understand the adults they become, you have to spend time unpacking the truly chaotic conditions of their childhood before the fire.
You do. The twins enter this new family structure after their biological mother remarries, and the instability is just immediate.
The sources really highlight that their experiences at home and at school were starkly different, which I think explains a lot about their divergent coping mechanisms as adults.
It explains everything. Eli was the target of physical abuse at home. The stepfather beat him up. Yet, somewhat ironically, he seemed to be the one who settled better at school. He found some stability there.
While Andrea had the exact opposite experience. At home, she was relatively safe from the physical violence, but at school, she was relentlessly bullied by girls. Specifically, one girl named Leanne.
And the tragedy that united them, the common denominator for both twins, was just the absolute emotional neglect from their biological mother.
But he just checked out.
Completely checked out of her parenting duties. It forced the twins into this constant state of emotional survival.
Which brings us to a crucial and, frankly, almost unbelievable detail. It just underscores the depth of the institutional failure and the compounded trauma here. And that's the connection with Leanne, the school bully.
It's just jaw-dropping structural irony. I mean, we learned that Eli once tried to assault Leanne, a really dark incident that the school immediately hushed up.
Why?
Because Leanne's father had significant political connections. It shows a system prioritizing powerful families over protecting children. But here's the critical turning point. After the house fire, after Eli's conviction, Andrea, the victim of Leanne's bullying, was adopted by Leanne's family.
Wait, hold on. She was placed in the care of the family of the person who tormented her.
Yes.
That's not just compounding trauma. That is setting a child up for continuous psychological warfare. Her entire foundation of safety was built on a lie and sustained by torment.
Precisely. And it explains everything about the adult Andrea. The sources describe her as an unlovable child who grew into an unlikable adult.
And her tendency to push everyone away, the anger, the defensiveness, it's not just bitterness.
No, it's the logical outcome of a life defined by physical and mental scars that were never, ever allowed to heal.
So that initial sympathy the reader feels, that belief in her victimhood, it's earned through this shocking backstory of suffering. But now we get to the central pivot of the novel. This is where the structural manipulation really begins.
Yes. The author has established Andrea's foundation of pain, and it's strong. It's strong enough to carry us through the first half of the book, but then around the midpoint, we start to notice inconsistencies. The errors and holes in Andrea's version of events. The reader is forced to confront them. Her credibility is just systematically dismantled, and the source material even refers to her as having a deranged mind.
And this is where the structure of the novel becomes the actual mechanism for revealing the truth. The author uses this stark contrast in their psychological profiles to make the shift. We started by accepting Eli as the stone-cold psychopath, right?
The designated villain.
The designated villain. Yet as we dig deeper, we find out he at least cared about his sister.
Meanwhile, Andrea, our initial victim, is revealed to be the true disaster.
Yeah.
Someone who genuinely does not give a crap about anyone. The whole narrative just flips.
It forces us to ask, is the active manipulator the real danger, or is it the person whose emotional core has just withered away?
And when she's confronted with her own destruction, Andrea's ultimate defense is what? That Eli converted her into this type of person.
She weaponizes her relationship with him. She claims she's just a reflection of his damage instead of accepting her own agency in the decades after the fire.
And the author can pull off this radical shift in our perception because they don't rely only on Andrea's internal monologue. This is where the technical structure serves a crucial function.
Perspective is everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And the book achieves this three-dimensional view through just remarkably diverse source materials.
It's not just linear storytelling. I mean, we are being fed information through book snippets, internal dialogue, monologues, but critically also through tape recordings, messages, and formal interviews.
Let's just break down the function of that multimodal approach for a second. When an author includes cold, objective, media-like excerpts from news coverage or police reports or recorded interviews, it forces you, the reader, to confront facts outside of Andrea's emotional framing.
And that is the exact mechanism that breaks her credibility.
It is. Her internal dialogue, which we trusted at the start, now stands in stark, contradictory opposition to the factual, recorded accounts of what happened that night.
So those little snippets, they aren't just filler. They're the objective evidence used to basically convict Andrea in the court of the reader's mind.
I think that's right. It's a really clever way to make the reader feel like an active, objective investigator, not just a passive recipient of her unreliable narration.
It absolutely is. And this structural complexity brings us to the overwhelming, inescapable theme of the book, which is the devastation wrought by untreated trauma.
The deep, corrosive damage that goes so far beyond the fire itself.
And our analysis shows the damage is just, it's widespread. Andrea is objectively a disaster as an adult. But then we also see how Leanne's life, the bully who became her adoptive sister, is also in terrible shape.
The abuse, the neglect, the trauma of the fire, It just ripples out. It demolishes multiple lives across multiple decades.
And that leads us to the final, shocking reveal. The moment the story clarifies exactly what happened the night of the fire, and it leaves the reader genuinely stunned.
It does. Even if you've pieced together the possibility, the confirmation of it just hits hard.
And it forces a deeply uncomfortable societal discussion that the novel raises. After the truth is revealed, is the person responsible truly getting away with so few consequences after destroying so many
The
lives?
cost of the secret, it just feels so disproportionate to the outcome. The book effectively turns the moral tables on you.
Which means this story is so much more than a simple whodunit designed to find out who lit the match.
Oh, it's an intense psychological examination of moral responsibility and the long-term devastating cost of familial neglect and abuse on the developing mind. The fire was simply the tragic climax of years and years of hidden damage.
So we've seen how What My Sister Knew uses a complex, multi-layered narrative to first earn, then exploit, and then finally destroy our empathy as readers.
hmm It ultimately exposes the deep, shared, and corrosive trauma of its two central characters.
The story sets up Eli, the so-called stone-cold psychopath, as the source of all the danger. Yet we find he had this singular capacity to care for his sister.
Meanwhile, Andrea, the initial victim figure, is revealed to be emotionally vacant. She cares about no one, not even herself. And this just completely challenges the traditional definitions of villainy and psychological illness that the book gives us at the start.
Which for you, the learner, this raises a crucial question about the nature of survival and damage.
In a novel focused entirely on siblings and their shared trauma, is the character who outwardly acts on their mental scars, the one who manipulates and destroys. Is that person always more damaged than the character who emotionally retreats, who shuts down, and who just checks out of their own humanity entirely?
Something to mull over as you explore the lasting impact of secrets, lies, and the terrible silence that follows trauma.